Hello and welcome everyone to today's episode of Celestia On-air Deciphering STEM, the podcast of Celestia, the Astronomy, Astrophysics and Space Tech Club of BITS Goa. We are your hosts, Shri Ram.
And I am Abdul. Today with us, we have Ankit Bhateja. Mr. Ankit is the founder of Xovian Aerospace, a company with the vision to provide low-cost, sustainable solutions in satellite fabrication. Xovian also provides space science education to the economically backward schools and colleges and has come up with the cheapest CANSAT module for the Asia Pacific region. We're glad to have you here, Mr. Ankit.
Thank you so much. Glad to be part of this session.
All right, let's just
Yeah.
jump right into the questions. So, the first question we have for you is why start Xovian? How did you, get so involved in the areas of space tech and space education? Like these areas aren't very conventional. So, what was the motivation behind it?
Yeah. I'm BTech graduated in BTech graduated in 2015. First year was 2011 of BTech. So in second year, which was 2011, 2012, sorry. During that time, we used to have a discussion related to various space science projects in my college, which was Kurukshetra University. So there we thought of why can't we just start something online, maybe a group or something where different people from various domains can come together who have interest in space science. So there we had created an online group on Facebook. So there we used to discuss various ideas related to space science. So there only I had met my co-founder Raghav in that group only. So from there we thought of taking this thing ahead by forming up a venture. And later on we thought of when we are registering this venture, maybe we should have something which we can take to the student community. So that time we thought of something. We were going through a lot of things at that time. So we saw that there is something which is CANSAT. So CANSAT was a competition which used to be held in Europe and US. And there, different teams from all across the globe used to come there and participate in that competition. So idea behind that competition was teams who are coming from all across the globe. They need to create a miniaturized version of a satellite, which is CANSAT, and that should be built somewhere below $1,000. So that was the target there. So $1,000, if we talk from the Indian perspective, that comes around 73,000 rupees. So that's something which a student cannot bear. So we thought of why can't we just develop something here for the Asia Pacific region where the currency is not that strong. And that time we were thinking of these things, and we developed our own CANSAT module using the readily made available electronics in the market. So later on, it went into a formalized way where we had made our own designs for the CANSAT and had put the relevant sensors which were available and which were relevant from that perspective, from the Indian student community perspective. So from there we had started, and so far we have already covered around 11,000 students across 24 states of the country. And this is how it started. And slowly we tried to move into different other things as well. So then from CANSAT we moved to the balloon sat, which is high altitude balloon. So that was targeted to the hobbyist and researcher community. So it's like a small satellite attached to a balloon, and that balloon goes to an altitude of 30 to 40 kilometers. And from there, it collects data from the outer space and near space region. So this is how we started and progressed into different other things as well.
Oh, that is very, very inspirational. I mean, starting from something akin to an online forum and,
Yeah,
just
right.
expanding into so many different communities. So, what role did your college degree? You said you did BTech. So, what role did
BTech
your
in computer
college
science.
degree play in?
Right. Yeah, so I don't think that there is any role of college degree here because my graduation is in computer science engineering. But yes, when it comes to the technology and all the technical side of the things, it does play a role. The experience and the things that you have learned from that college life, that plays an important role in a startup. But if we talk about that degree, that piece of paper, that doesn't really have any value if we talk about it from my perspective. So initially, like when we had started during the college time, so I was in a second year in 2012. So at that time, obviously, I was involved in computer science in college, but side by side, there was a zeal that I need to do something in aerospace. So that's why, like, even without going into any corporate job or anything, we directly jumped into the startup from the college days itself. So the experience that only played a role was the experience of public speaking, interaction with a lot of people during the college days, how to manage different things. These are the only things that had helped in the startup, and not that degree part.
Yeah, so your journey has been like quite long. You have been here from like your second year of college. So, what is the biggest challenge you faced in this? Like
Mm,
starting a company in such an unconventional sector and then making it so
Yes, I
big.
mean,
So,
10 years back, I don't think there were many people thinking about starting up
yeah,
in
right, right.
space tech
So
companies.
yeah, right. So what if we talk about 2020, and then we talk about 2012? So there is a lot of difference we can see. So at that time, if let's say we would have thought that we'll be developing a satellite or something, it was totally impossible at that time. So there wasn't any support from the government or any other side. There wasn't any investment available in this sector. So obviously, if someone wanted to develop a satellite from the private sector community at that time, it was totally impossible. So the only thing that was possible, if you wanted to start something in aerospace or space sector, it was related to either education, or you develop a drone, or you develop something which is which is totally consumer oriented, consumer market oriented. So that's why at that time we only thought of going into the space education sector, because that was the only feasibility at our end. If you would have started developing satellite or something else, we would have definitely failed at that time, because there wasn't any policy support available. So either the option was to go to some other country and start doing these things there, but in India there wasn't any such thing. So that's why we only started with the space education part. And slowly when we realized that the things are changing, then we sort of started changing our strategy as well. So that's why, like, we were working from Delhi at that time, and in 2017 we had shifted to Bangalore. So there we got into touch with some ex-ISRO people. So we also got some experience when some universities working on their satellite projects. So there we got some experience and saw the space related developments happening in front of our eyes. So that was a key learning time for us. And that was the moment when we shifted our gears from space education to other things as well. So it was a slow process because of the policy support, because of the funding support. So that's why, like, it took time for us to change from the totally from the space education sector to the core aerospace sector.
it is as they say,
Oh,
slow and steady wins the race.
yeah.
Yeah, you can say
That
that.
is actually really inspirational for someone who wants to do
Yeah,
something indigenous.
right, right.
So, moving on to the next question, talking about indigenous things, your tagline, Asadhya Bhavagra,
Asadhya
could
Bhavagra,
you tell
right.
us more about what it means?
Yeah, Asadhya Bhavagra, this is basically two Sanskrit words. So the meaning of this is reaching the farthest. So that's how it translates in English. Asadhya Bhavagra, reaching the farthest. Yeah, reaching the farthest, it connects with the name Xovian itself. So Xovian names comes from the planet category, which is Jovian planets. So the planets that are in the outer solar system. which are in gaseous states. These planets are called Jovian planets. So
Yes.
J replaced by X, so that's how the name came Jovian. And since the planets are far further away, they are really far, and we also have a target to go really far. So that's why that linking came, and we came up with this tagline, reaching the farthest, which is Asadhya Bhavagra.
Oh, that is really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very cohesive and insightful tagline and name. So, do you have any plans to further expand in the sector of space science education?
Yeah. So when we had started, so there were two things that we had done, which was CANSAT and high altitude ballooning. And we were also developing a small set module for education purpose, basically a CubeSat module for students. So it's in development phase, but due to this corona and the current project we were involved in, because currently we are involved in the satellite development, which is a constellation that we are developing. So most of the focus is currently on that thing. So once that thing stabilizes, we'll definitely try to bring back the products that we had in the education domain, and we'll definitely think of expanding further in this
We
particular.
wish you, we wish you all the best for those
Yeah,
endeavors of
thank you so
yours.
much.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
Xovian was one of the few aerospace companies selected for the US India Defense Ties Conference.
Yeah,
Congratulations on that. So,
yeah,
could
thank
you
you.
tell us more about that experience?
Yeah, so this was basically an event jointly done by US consulate and Indian embassy. So, sorry, in India and US consulate in Hyderabad. So this was clubbed up with a workshop that was designed for the startups who are working in the defense side of the things. So the current project that we are doing, it has some of the defense applications as well. So we were the part of that thing, and it was more related to basically the investment part, legal part, and policy related things. What policy support is there from the defense side? So that was a great learning experience for us. How to better, how we can better plan our strategy on the defense side of the things. And on the second day, after this training and this sort of seminar, on the second day we had a project showcase, the product that we are developing. So all the technologies were demonstrated in front of the diaspora, which were from US as well as from India. Various industry guys were there, defense people were there. So that was more into like a demonstration of the project that the companies have developed from India. So almost 8 to 9 startups were there who were in space as well as defense side of the things. So it was a great like a learning experience for us, and it helped us to make our strategy in a better way. Yeah.
That would have helped boost your morale
Yeah,
and
it was like a great, right. It was a great learning experience for us.
Okay, so we heard that Xovian is working on some satellite development.
Hmm.
So, how is your satellite different from those of, NASA or ISRO? And in which field would that satellite find its application?
Yeah, so we are developing a passive radar based satellite constellation. So there are going to be multiple satellites in the lower Earth orbit. So that's going to be under nano satellite category. So currently the plan is to go for a 3U configuration, which is 30 by 30 cross 10 cross 10 centimeters. So this passive radar is basically how that works. If I tell you, so basically there are around 100 navigation satellites that are revolving around the Earth. So these satellites are in the medium Earth orbit. So these satellites include GPS, GLONASS, Baidu, IRNSS is also there. So all these satellites, the purpose of these satellites is to provide navigation services across the globe. So the signals from these satellites are continuously beaming up toward the Earth's surface. So at the same time, what happens that when these satellites beam up the signals towards Earth's surface, some of the signals get reflected back to space. So we are tapping onto the reflections of these satellites and are telling what is happening on the Earth surface. So this is basically passive radar that we have developed. So the application of this will be in various domains, such as maritime industry. Like we can predict what is happening on the ocean surface, and we can also predict different natural and extreme weather events as well. Other application is on the weather forecasting side, and agriculture based predictions also we can do from this particular thing. So this is what we are developing, and currently the testing of this thing is going on. So it is going to be around 52 satellite constellation for the lower Earth orbit. As compared to the radar satellite, it is going to be very compact.
That is a very interesting concept. It's something I haven't heard of before, but like it
Yeah,
sounds quite interesting and intuitive. So
right,
so you're basically building a satellite constellation in
right,
space,
right. Passive radar based, right.
passive radar based. All right, we wish you
So,
all the best for that.
Yeah, thank you.
as you said, there are multiple applications to these, and it will
Hmm,
require
hmm.
multiple equipments on the satellite to do the various stuff.
No,
So,
this is
could
the only single equipment that we have developed. It is passive radar, so it is tapping onto the reflections of existing satellite signals, and with
oh,
these signals only we are able to tell different things by computing these signals and with the help of various algorithm. So we are able to
okay.
tell all the things with the help of this single technology only.
Oh, so could you tell us how you are testing or prototyping these satellites, or how do you field test these
Yeah.
before they'll
So
be actually be launched?
right. So prototype we had completed last month. So currently the testing is going on. So testing because it has to be implemented on a lower Earth orbit satellite. So the testing that we are doing is near the lakes and the South Indian region, and also with the help of drones. So we are collecting the data from various ponds, various lakes, various coastal areas. So once that data we have, we'll be validating that data with the existing data sets, and also the testing is being done via drone also. So by comparing all these datas, we will be doing some iterations which will be required from our end. So once the iteration part is done, we'll be going for the launch for this payload on our 3U satellite, 3U configuration satellite.
Using drones is a pretty recent development. So
Yeah,
using
yeah.
that
So drone
for testing.
we have developed from our end. It is basically tugging up the payload on the drone and then going for the testing.
So, could you tell us the differences, or how is it different from ballooning? I mean, obviously the altitude will be less than ballooning, but does it make a huge difference in the tests?
Yeah, balloon also we can do, but the thing is the payload. We need to do the testing of a particular area. Let's say if a coastal area is there, so we can easily move around the drone to a particular location from where we need to tap onto the data. But in case of balloon, so there are two options. Either we use a tethered balloon, or we use the balloon which is not tethered. So in that case, recovering the balloon is the difficult task. So what happens that when the balloon bursts at an altitude of 30 to 35 kilometers, so it will be basically descending with the help of a parachute. So there are high chances that if the parachute lands in the area which is a wildlife sanctuary or an area which is restricted for the access, so that way our payload will be lost in that case. But in case of drone, the payload is easily recoverable and we know the exact position. In balloon also we can track the location, but recovery part is tricky. So that's why like initially drone testing is being done. So once that is over and we have a robust hardware at our end, we might think of balloon tests as well. But currently we according to the strategy that we have developed, so drone will be enough for our purpose.
Oh, that is really
Yeah.
insightful. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you said that you are planning to launch your satellite. So when are
Hmm,
you
hmm.
expecting the first launch of the satellites? And
Hmm.
the subsequent future plans with those.
Yeah, so basically the project, this thing that we were developing. So initial funding we had got from the government side. So we had got multiple funds from different resources. So that was basically for the prototype development, which is now over. And now we are in talks for raising further funds. So once that funding round is over, we are expecting the launch to take place somewhere in the Q4 of 2021.
All
So
right.
if we talk about the future perspective, so initially, obviously, since the first satellite will be basically for the test purpose, we need to get data from the lower Earth orbit. Then only we will be able to see whether the data which we were expecting, the accuracy which we were expecting, we are getting it or not. So if some iterations are required, obviously we'll have to do the iterations, and then we will be deploying the full constellation. So yes, future plan will be like to slowly reach to that constellation, and in that process obviously it will say take some more time. So initial target will be to put on some prototype satellites and then get that data back with us, and then process that data and see if some iterations are required or not.
And has COVID affected your plans in any way? Like,
Yes, absolutely. So we are running almost 7 months late just because of COVID, because most of the hardware was totally which we were developing in house only. And since we are based out of university incubation, we were working from PES University. So definitely, like after the lockdown, university was closed, and it had affected the hardware that we were developing. But yes, we also shifted our gears towards the software side of the things. So now the software part at our end is almost complete, and hardware also we had completed last month. So yes, it has delayed the things for 6 7 months.
the whole world was brought to a standstill. So
Right,
I
right.
guess it was to be expected.
Yeah, right.
Let's just
And
hope it
other thing is that
gets
you
better.
cannot develop the hardware remotely. For a
Yeah.
software-based startup, it is fine. Like you can
Yes.
operate remotely. You can use Zoom. You can use different, community organizing softwares online. But in hardware, it is impossible. So that's why, like,
Especially since
when the hardware
you
is
are
involved,
developing it.
it becomes difficult. Yeah, right.
Especially you're developing it yourself. So yeah.
Right.
Yes. After this constellation project is done, do you have
Mhm.
any further plans or some other goals? Maybe a bigger satellite, bigger than a nano satellite.
Uh, at the moment, I can't say anything about that. But yes, since we'll be going towards the constellation development, so we might be, developing our own capabilities in terms of proper satellite fabrication. So yes, those capabilities might help us to, venture into some other verticals as well. But at the moment, it won't be like clearly possible for me to say something like that. So yes, probably in future we might, but at the moment it is like clarity is not there. Yes,
Yeah.
initial plan is for the constellation only, but yes, slowly we'll see like what comes in our path. Yeah,
So basically, you are right now into the stepping stones to
yeah,
making
right.
further
Hmm.
progress.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because our main focus right now is on particularly on the passive radar based satellite only, and that's why we have paused our education work as well. So once this thing is over, then probably yes, it will help us to make the things more clear from our end. So at the moment, like it is like difficult to plan out the things whether it is going to be a bigger satellite development in future or not.
You said that one of the biggest hurdles when you started this was to acquire funding and
Mhm.
to get technical knowledge and everything. So
Right.
recently an organization named InSpace was established by the Indian
Right.
government. It plans to increase the industry participation and privatization in the Indian space program. So do you
Right.
have any plans to be a part of this, and do you think this platform will help new and coming companies like yours to be
Yes. Right.
more
Right.
agile, more active.
Yeah, yeah. So as I mentioned before, that there were a lot of problems when it comes to the space sector, indigenous space sector. So the problem was that private sector was not allowed to launch or own any satellite or any space assets. So that was very difficult. So that's why there weren't any companies in India that were developing or launching satellites. With the formation of InSpace, so InSpace is basically a regulatory body. This will be helping the startups and companies fetch the licensing required, fetch the permissions required for the launch. So all the things will be handled via InSpace. So yes, there are a lot of expectations from the InSpace, and it is definitely going to help the space sector. But yes, it is currently in the nascent phase, and we are also expecting the space policy to be available and to be rolled out. So once the space policy is there, once the proper working and constitution and other things related to in space are available, and then definitely I think that it is going to be a great thing for the Indian space startup ecosystem. So yes, there are a lot of expectations from in space, and even now also, like, the government has already started supporting the startups through InSpace. So if startup has any proposal or they want to go ahead with something in space sector, they can directly approach InSpace. Yes, formalization is still going on. It might take 3 to 4 months. But yes, even now also they have already started supporting the startups. So yes, there are a lot of expectations from this particular agency.
I think it's a really great step, that the Indian government is taking.
Yes,
I
right, right.
I think it
Hmm.
will like really boost the enthusiasm for venturing into such
Yes.
fields like
Hmm.
space tech, like you did.
Yeah, it
So
is going to like provide an encouragement to the youth as well to come up and venture into the space sector.
So, talking about the youth, do you have any advice for someone who's getting into the space tech sector, or do you have any advice for like the people who are just starting and
Hmm.
are in their basic, like the
Yeah, yeah.
baby phase of their
So,
startup?
hmm. Yeah, so basically, first of all, like in space sector, usually what we see is that new entrepreneurs or the youth or the college students who have seen this change happen in the space sector, the formation of in space and the support from the government. So what is happening that a lot of students are venturing into space sector now. But the main thing is that when you are starting something, so make sure that the idea is not some very much sci-fi sort of thing. So you should first analyze it and see the market side of the things, technology side of the things. A little bit of study is required. First you just see what is happening, and then you plan your strategy, you plan your solution that you want to provide. Because what is happening that with the launch of all these things, with a lot of publicity happening around space sector, so all of the students like who were basically fascinated by the space sector, they are coming up with a lot of different ideas, and that sci-fi sort of thing should not be there. It should be something which actually solves a existing problem. It should not be something like totally sci-fi thing just because you'll be getting publicity through it. So that sort of thing should be taken into mind before starting or venturing out into the space sector. Otherwise, yes, lot of once you have the idea, once you have problem to solve, and you have a probable solution or idea around it, then definitely now there is a support from the government, and funding opportunities are also there in the market. A lot of startups, we are now seeing that they are receiving a lot of funding from the private sector as well. From government sector also, various grants are available, various funding opportunities are available. So that way, from the funding perspective or from the financial perspective, yes, now the support is increasing. And obviously, yes, the opportunities are there in this sector, and lot of students and lot of non-technical people who are there in various sectors, they can also think of something, providing some solutions for the space industry.
Yeah, that is great. Like it is something that it is similar to what Vikram Sarabhai wanted. Like
Right,
you
right,
shouldn't
right,
go into the space sector just for the glamour of it, but to actually solve the
right, right.
problems that people have. Yeah, that is a really novel idea.
Yeah, and it is like applicable for other sectors as well. So idea should be something which is actually solving a problem or which is addressing the need of the hour. So once you have these things with you, then obviously there will be opportunity for you, and you will definitely able to scale it up.
That was all of the questions that we had. Thank you for coming, Mr. Ankit, and it was really great and really amazing to have you here.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was great to have you all, and thanks for having me here and giving the opportunity.
Thank you, everyone, and we will see you all in the next episode of Celestia On Air Deciphering STEM.